Hello everyone. Let's see this example of bank reconciliation statement. Messrs. Ram Limited is in the business of trading. Balance as per cash book is rupees 10,50,000 debit as on 31st March 2019. Prepare a bank reconciliation statement after making necessary rectifications and also recording transactions not in the cash book and find balance as per bank statement. So here first we have to do certain rectifications in the cash book, and we are also required to record certain transactions which are there in your bank statement but not recorded in the cash book. And using that rectified balance of the cash book, we have to prepare a bank reconciliation statement. Now we'll be reading all these transactions one by one, and then let's see if this will appear in your rectified cash book statement or a bank reconciliation statement. So before preparing a bank reconciliation statement, we'll be preparing a statement showing effect of rectifications on the cash book. Then using that rectified balance of the cash book, we'll be preparing a bank reconciliation statement. Now let's see all these transactions one by one, and let's identify whether this will be a part of your bank reconciliation statement or your statement of rectification of a cash book. Let's see the first transaction. 1. Check issued but not presented for the payment amounting to 30,200. Now this is check issued, so it's recorded in the cash book. But since it is not presented for the payment, it's not appearing in your bank statement. So this is bank reconciliation statement. This will appear in your bank reconciliation statement. Next, direct salary payment by bank to Mr. Nitin amounting to rupees 40,000 wrongly recorded as 35,000 in the books of account. Now there was some direct salary payment of rupees 40,000, but there was an error in the cash book, and this amount of 40,000 was recorded as 35,000 in the cash book. Now this requires a rectification. So this will be a part of your rectification statement. Next, interest of rupees 1200 debited by bank but not recorded in the books. So there was a 1200 interest which was debited in your bank statement, but it is not recorded in the book. So now we will be recording this in our cash book. So again this will be a part of your rectification statement of cash book. Next, dividend receipts of rupees 15,000 credited in the bank account but not recorded in the books. Again, there are certain dividend receipts which are credited in the bank account, but since they are not recorded in the cash book, we'll record them in a rectification statement of cash book. Next, fifth, checks of rupees 50,000 deposited in the bank but not cleared. So these checks are been deposited in the bank, so they are recorded in the cash book, but they are not yet cleared. So this will appear in your bank reconciliation statement. 6. Check of rupees 12,500 received from Mrs. Manisha is wrongly entered in the books as check issued to Mrs. Manisha. The same is deposited and cleared in the bank. So there was some check of rupees 12,500 which was received from Mrs. Manisha, but in the cash book it was wrongly recorded as check issued to Manisha. So this has to be rectified and it will be a part of your rectification statement. Next, 7. Fixed deposits along with the interest of rupees 1,52,000 matured and credited in the bank statement but not recorded in the books of account. So this needs to be recorded in the books of account, so it will be a part of your rectification statement. So first we will be preparing a statement showing the effect of rectifications in the cash book. So there are two types of adjustments. One is wherein there was some amount which was wrongly recorded in the cash book and we have to rectify it. The second adjustment is there are certain entries which are there in your bank statement but not in the cash book. The same are required to be recorded in the cash book. Let's prepare the format of the statement. So this is a format of the statement. Statement showing effect of rectifications in the cash book as on 31st March 2019. Particulars, amount. Now, balance as per cash book is rupees 10,50,000 debit as on 31st March 2019. So first we will write this balance in this rectification statement. Balance as per cash book 10,50,000. Let's see what are the transactions that are required to be included in our rectification statement. We have already marked them with RS. Second, direct salary payment by bank to Mr. Nitin amounting to rupees 40,000 wrongly recorded as rupees 35,000 in the books of accounts. Let's prepare a working note for this. Now this is working note number 1. Now we'll be writing it as wrong entry and correct entry. So wrong entry in cash book and correct entry in the cash book. Let's assume some balance. Let's assume the balance as 1 lakh debit, 1 lakh debit here. So now there was some salary check of rupees 40,000 which was wrongly recorded as 35,000. So what will be the entry for the salary check? It will be salary account debit to bank account. So on the credit side of bank account, it was recorded as 35,000. The correct entry should have been salary account debit to bank account 40,000. So on the credit side of your cash book 40,000. So now the balance here is 65,000. Here it is 60,000. Now we have to rectify the entry. We are moving from wrong entry to correct entry. So we have to reduce 5,000 in the rectification statement. Let's do that. In the statement showing rectifications, less direct salary payment wrongly recorded, now rectified 5,000. Now the next transaction. Third, interest of rupees 1200 debited by bank but not recorded in the books of accounts. Again, this will be part of a rectification statement. So let's prepare a working note for this. Second, so again here we are writing a wrong entry in the cash book and here we are writing a correct entry in the cash book. Let's assume the balance as 1 lakh. Now here there is some interest of rupees 1200 which is not recorded in the cash book. So as such there is no wrong entry. This entry is not recorded in the cash book. So here there is no entry initially. Now we have to pass the entry. What will be the entry for the interest? Interest account debit to bank account. So on the credit side of cash book it will be 1200. So the balance was 1 lakh. Now after passing this entry the balance will be 98,800. So we have to reduce 1200 in our rectification statement. Let's do this. Less interest debited by bank now recorded in the cash book 1200. Now the next. 4. Dividend receipts of rupees 15,000 credited in the bank account but not recorded in the cash book. Again, this is not recorded in the cash book, so we have to record it. Now we will be preparing a working note for this, and the effect of this 50,000 will be shown in the rectification statement. Third, so this is wrong entry or an initial entry in the cash book, and this is a rectified entry. We'll assume the balance as 1 lakh debit. Now there is some dividend receipt which is not recorded in the cash book initially. So now we have to pass this entry. What will be the journal entry? Bank account debit to dividend account. So on the debit side of cash book, we'll write it as 15,000. So now the balance was 1 lakh initially. Now after passing this entry, the balance is 1,15,000. Now we are moving from your original cash book entry to rectified cash book, so we have to add 15,000 in the rectification statement. Let's do that. Add dividend received not recorded in the cash book, now recorded 15,000. Now let's see the next transaction. Fifth, check of rupees 50,000 deposited in the bank but not cleared. Now this will appear in the bank reconciliation statement. So for time being we will ignore this. 6. Check of rupees 12,500 received from Mrs. Manisha is wrongly entered in books as check issued to Mrs. Manisha. The same is deposited and cleared in the bank. So we have to rectify this entry in our cash book. So let's prepare a working note for this. Working note number 4. So here we will be writing a wrong entry, and here what is a correct entry. So now let's assume the balance as 1 lakh debit. So check was received from Manisha, but initially it was recorded as check issued to Manisha. So the entry would have been Manisha account debit to bank account. So on the credit side of cash book, I'll write 12,500. Now what is the correct entry? The correct entry should have been bank account debit to Manisha account 12,500. So on the debit side of cash book, should be having 12,500. Now let's see the balance here. 87,500. Here the balance is 1,12,500. Now what is the impact of this? Impact of this was that initially the entry was posted wrongly on the credit side of cash book instead of debit side. So we have to add 25,000 in the rectification statement. Let's do that. Add check received wrongly entered as check issued, now rectified 25,000. Now the next transaction. 7. Fixed deposits along with the interest of rupees 1,52,000 matured and credited in the bank statement but not recorded in the books of accounts. Now this will be a part of a rectification statement. Let's prepare a working note for this. 5th, so wrong entry here, correct entry here. Now let's assume the balance as 1 lakh. Now there was some FD which was matured and credited by bank, and the same is not recorded in the cash book. So earlier there was no entry in the cash book. Now with the entry for the FD matured bank account debit to fixed deposit account 1,52,000. So on the debit side of cash book, we will be recording 1,52,000. Now let's see the impact of this. Initially the balance was 1 lakh. Now the balance is 2,52,000. So the rectification statement, we have to add 1 lakh 52,000. So let's record this in the rectification statement. Fixed deposit not recorded in the cash book, now recorded 1,52,000. Now this was the last transaction. We will take a total and find out what is a rectified balance as per cash book. So 15,000 plus 25,000 plus 1,52,000 is 1,92,000. Then 5,000 plus 1,200, so 6,200 we have to reduce. So the balance is 12,35,800. So now this is a rectified balance as per cash book. Now this balance will be used in our bank reconciliation statement. Let's prepare a format of bank reconciliation statement and write this rectified balance as per cash book. So this is a bank reconciliation statement as on 31st March 2019. So we'll write rectified balance as per cash book 12,35,800. Now let's see the transactions which are to be included in our bank reconciliation statement. So we have transaction number 1 and then transaction number 5 which will be a part of bank reconciliation statement. Let's see the first transaction. Check issued but not presented for payment amounting to rupees 30,200. So there was some checks which were issued. So they are already recorded in the cash book. So to that extent, the balance in the cash book will be less. Now these checks are not recorded in the bank statement since they are not presented for the payment. So to the extent of 30,200, your balance as per bank statement will be greater as compared to cash book. Now we are moving from cash book to your bank statement. So we have to add this 30,200 in bank reconciliation statement. Let's prepare a working note for this. Working note for bank reconciliation statement. So working note number 1. So cash book, passbook. Let's assume the balance as 1 lakh debit as per cash book and 1 lakh credit as per passbook. Now there are checks that are issued. So on the credit side of cash book we have 30,200. But same are not presented for payment, so there is no entry in the passbook. So here the balance is 69,800. Here the balance is 1 lakh. Now we are moving from cash book to passbook. So we have to add 30,200 in the bank reconciliation statement. Let's do that. Add check issued but not presented for payment 30,200. Now the next transaction. Transaction number 5. Checks of rupees 50,000 deposited in the bank but not cleared. Now this is the last transaction in the bank reconciliation statement. So check of rupees 50,000 deposited in the bank. So they are recorded in the cash book. So to that extent our balance in the cash book has increased. But since same are not recorded in the bank statement, the balance in the bank statement will be less as compared to your cash book by 50,000. Here since we are moving from cash book to bank statement, this 50,000 needs to be reduced in your bank reconciliation statement. Let's prepare a working note for this. Working note number 2. Cash book, passbook. Let's assume the balance as 1 lakh. 1 lakh on the credit side of passbook. Now there are checks which are deposited but not cleared. So checks deposited on the debit side of cash book 50,000, but since they are not cleared, no entry in the passbook. So Now the balance here is 1,50,000. Here the balance is 1 lakh. Now we are moving from cash book to passbook. So we have to reduce 50,000 in bank reconciliation statement. Let's do that. Less checks deposited but not cleared 50,000. Now let's take a total and find out what is the balance as per passbook. We have to add 30,200, 50,000 we have to reduce. So 12,35,800 plus 3,200 minus 50,000, 12,16,000. Now this is balance as per passbook. So this was an example wherein we prepared a bank reconciliation statement after making necessary rectifications in the cash book and also after passing pending entries in the cash book.